Hi everyone and welcome to this week's COT review. I'm Thomas from COTbase.com. Today we're going to be looking at the 42nd Commitments of Traders Report of 2019, and as we always do, we shall start our analysis with the largest changes in commercials positions. You can see we have soybeans on top of a list with a 20% change in commercials positions. Now you may see on this 52 weeks time horizon that this change is definitely amongst the largest changes in the past. It is of course a bearish COT change signal coming after a bit of a rally in the market, so this suggests we could see a bit of a decline early next week. If we move on to the 5 years chart, we get a perspective of the COT Extreme, which as you may see is becoming pretty bearish. Commercials are at a 71 report extreme, large speculator 69. This of course could continue on for a few more weeks. You can see we've witnessed much greater extremes in the past. By the way, the example I'm just showing you from June of 2016 was a remarkable successful bearish COT extreme signal, and another great example from April of 2018. Again, a great example, and we're headed in those directions. You can also see small speculators at a huge 803 report extreme. Basically, they have become net long, which is again, you can easily consider that to be a bearish signal. So all in all of our main COT equipments are showing bearish signs in the market. Moving on to the Kansas wheat, we have an 18% change over there in commercials positions. Back to the 1 year chart to see that change. In perspective, it is definitely larger than average, although we've seen similar changes in the past. As I said, it is a bearish COT change signal suggesting we could see a bit of a decline coming here early next week. And if we move on to the 5 years chart, you can see that the last major extreme, which wasn't that big, but still successful as you may see, was this bullish extreme. We have not reached bearish extreme levels, so this of course means we could see this market to continue its rise. The next market will be the lumber, where we have a 16% change in commercials positions. Again, talking about a bearish COT change signal, not necessarily that large, but larger than average. You can see much greater changes multiple times in this past 1 year. If we move on to the 5 years chart, you can see that we are still a bit closer to bullish extreme levels. You may see the last two major extremes, bullish extremes, I'm just showing to you right now being successful signals pushing the market higher. I would say these COT extreme signals are still in place affecting the market. We could see further rallies coming. We are definitely far away from bearish extreme levels. Let's move on and have a look at large speculator COT extreme. We've got the soybean oil on top of the list, but if you look to the right, you may find small speculators at an all-time. But important notice, you can see that there's a huge 94% change in small speculators. Now I checked the market here on CFTC, and you can see that it is truly a large change in traders' positions, small speculators' positions. Question whether or not this is a error in the data, and whether or not CFTC will correct that next week. I'd like to tell you that in Soybean Meal, you may find a very similar picture. So that's already two markets where small speculators have changed their positions rapidly. So we'll see what happens. I would say in such occasions, it could be reasonable to just stay away from the market and see what will happen. If it's truly a correct signal, then of course the fact that large speculators and commercials have increased their net positions can be considered a bullish signal, but we'll see what happens. It's an interesting situation. Let's have our eyes on soybean oil in the next couple of days and weeks. So next market is, of course, we talked about soybeans, so we're going to jump over that. Soybeans complex is something for our subscribers. We talked about the lumber, so might as well move on to the Euro-Japanese yen pair. Now you can see that here we have a much narrow history in the data. Nevertheless, you can see that We have a 24 report extreme in large speculators. Well, not much to talk about from the extremes perspective. When you see something like that, it's best just to neglect this and move on and find a market where there's a much greater COT history. So that's that. Let's finish off with feeder cattle. Again, a small 22 report extreme in large speculators over there. We do see a bit larger extreme in commercials, 84 report extreme, and as you can see on the charts, it's quite visible that we are moving away from a bullish COT extreme situation, but there is no clearly visible shift in the trend in either direction. I would say that again, we found another market where the COT report wouldn't be that helpful. Maybe the COT chain signals could be telling us a little bit more, but of course that's a near-term signal. So anyways, of course there's a lot of markets to analyze here at COT Base, more than I'm showing to you right now. Of course, don't forget you can look at the newest COT report types, the disaggregated, the TIF, and the CIT, and also you have the option of looking at futures and options data type and the exclusive options only data type that is unique at cotbase.com. And of course, a lot of other tools are available at your disposal here at cotbase.com. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you haven't yet checked out our service, you will do so now. I appreciate your attention, and I wish you a pleasant weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.